Genshin Impact developer Hoyoverse is an open-world action RPG designed with anime-themed aesthetics, currently available on Windows, PlayStation, iOS, and Android. Without going majorly in-depth, as this video is mainly for those who are already familiar with the game, it is a single-player story game with co-op aspects during exploration and battles. The game estimated a revenue of nearly $3.7 billion within the first year, topping the likes of Fortnite. But why is this great game not on top of the charts or widely spoken of in the gaming industry? Being a single player game, it does not encounter the same kind of issues the major multiplayer games encounter, like hackers and cheaters. Instead, the greatest issue this game has is the accessibility of repeatable endgame content. Sometimes there is a glimmer of hope in limited time events, but once they are finished, so too does the content disappear. Now this issue further develops into another problem, especially for content creation, in that the most viewed or best view per hour goes into videos on leaks from the beta of upcoming characters. Although this is great hype for the future, current game content should be just as appealing and entertaining to watch. First, let's talk about what makes the top games like Call of Duty, Valorant, Apex, and others a great game. These games are great as it allows content creators to simply produce gameplay by playing the game, and that gameplay cannot be exactly replicated by another player. These games are also fair to play on a competitive playing field, so that whether you spend $0 or $1,000 on the game, you'll not receive any more of an advantage compared to somebody else, while still keeping the game simple. This is why things like spiral burst competitions are limited to those who whale on the game and therefore do not generate interest to the average player, as they cannot compete. Now, although these games have done well for a year and maybe had a honeymoon phase, let's talk about the post-honeymoon phase and why these games have continually decreased in player counts. This is also something that Genshin can easily avoid in a competitive realm and sense, by the way it is set up. The first reason, in my opinion, is because of weak lore or storytelling. Games like Warzone and Fortnite both have a storyline which isn't clear to understand and doesn't have depth of their characters that will give them reason to change or motive to change. They both simply relied on the cameo to drive their fans, but in the long term this will not be effective. Later in this video I'll be using Marvel as a perfect example which will back this opinion of mine. Secondly, and it's something most gaming companies can learn from the failure of current games, it's with regards to the map. Most of the games, if not all, have tried to retain players by the introduction of a brand new map and the removal of an old map. I believe that the expansion of the original map, rather than altercation or replacement of the original map, is key to becoming a long-standing game. The reason being is that the map forms a part of the core that grasps players when they start playing the game. Exploring it, learning about what is where for the first time, creates a feeling of what home is. Once that home is changed or removed, the game won't feel the same. And that's why Genshin Impact is well set up for being a long-term top game in the multiplayer genre. Using its expansions on each region, it gives us players an opportunity to make our home bigger rather than removing it or taking it away. Although there are some games that have focused on map expansion, it has not been significant enough, nor does it have the in-game reasoning. From these two reasons, we can derive two pillars Genshin's multiplayer or competitive scene should be built on: story-driven and reasoned. Now let's talk about a good story. And for this we'll look at Marvel and specifically focusing on phase 1 to 3, or the Infinity Saga, whichever you call it, and then the post-endgame or phase 4 onwards. From phase 1 to 3, each character that was introduced had a significant reason for being there in the context of the story the saga focuses on. Not only that, but the events each character experienced altered their personality and formed them into the hero they are. This is all a result of well-planned stories and good character development. Now moving into phase 4, there's a significant lack of character development and heroism. More of the woke culture is being portrayed. Thus, Marvel has been receiving a lot of slack for it and losing its fanbase. Turning back to Genshin, Hoyoverse have definitely done a great job in giving characters their own stories, and they overlap incredibly well. Thus, expansion into a multiplayer world would be a much easier job, as they would only need to focus on producing well-polished gameplay. as the story mode itself provides all the needed background details. Unlike games such as Fortnite, who rather create a 2 to 3 day hype by having a cameo of a well-known character rather than any significance of that character in their story. Now to answer the question why Genshin Impact will succeed in a multiplayer competitive scene. Firstly, Genshin Impact has a solid foundation of strong lore. Not just story writing, but the voice actors and design of characters too. Furthermore, they also provide meaningful cutscenes that create immersive atmospheres. Hoyoverse have also released a roadmap for the future of Genshin Impact, with each edition of a region adding a significant portion to the map of Teapot with new experiences. Each region will provide a new type of content, as they are most likely going to be representative of different cultures. With that being said, there are some pillars of foundations that I think should be formed while designing and planning a Genshin Impact multiplayer or competitive scene. One being that it should be fair to play no matter how much you spend on the game. It should also be fun and repeatable while yet competitive content, not creating any toxicity by the type of game it is, but rather if any toxicity is created, it's between how the players react. And it also needs a good and enticing story with a well-planned structure. Having already established that the game has a great story and the roadmap of 5 to 10 years proving it is well planned, we can talk about the first steps into creating Genshin competitive. The Serenity Teapot is the key tool in starting Genshin competitive. Although it can be limiting, it is a great test to even the most creative of people to design fun and entertaining challenges. They are also permanently available, which allows it to be available for anytime use. This is also a small step into repeatable and competitive content, as currently you can compete against 3 other players instead of the AI. For example, I have designed an array of games such as mini golf, snakes and ladders, escape rooms and other games inspired by game shows like Squid Game and Takeshi's Castle. This type of content is enjoyable for everyone and will undoubtedly compete with the leagues being the most type of viewed content. With more and more attraction and positive feedback from the community to developers, they can start with simple improvements such as player capacity, settings nodes, and other quality of life features. This will improve the game in many ways. Specifically, it will bring a whole new target market and audience, open windows of opportunity for content creation to broaden the limited content and allow players to add their own creativity and experiences. In the long term, it can set up a future for the game to expand into a subdivision of Battle Royale or tactical game. And so with all this being said, if you'd like to join me in creating a fair, fun and competitive space for Genshin Impact, I do host games every weekend where participants can win Primo Gems on Twitch, link in the pinned comment. If you'd like to learn everything about Genshin Competitive and be a part of the start of it, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, share with your friends and start throwing your ideas around or in the comments below so that we can work together as a team and bring this forward into Genshin Impact. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.